One thing that motivated me to get closer to God and actually gave me that push to actually start seeking for the word and seeking for the truth is wanting to have full self-control over my body, full discipline over my body. Meaning that if I told myself that I was going to do something, I was going to do it no matter what. If I wanted to get rid of lust, I would be able to flee from lust and not be in bondage, not be stuck in this prison of going back to the same sins over and over and over. Because even before I was a follower of Christ, I would feel guilty after doing certain things. I would know that it's wrong, and yet I still did it because my conscience was telling me like, oh, that is wrong, and yet I was still doing it. It even talks about this in Romans. The first way to take control of your life and stop being in bondage to the flesh is by actually being obedient to Christ. Because essentially, it's not us taking over our life, it's God taking over our life. So we are not supposed to do things in our own strength. It even says in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6, that we are not supposed to do it with our own strength, nor our own might, but by the Spirit. And we are supposed to do that by obeying Christ. And once we rely more on Christ instead of ourselves, that is when we will get the strength from God. What does it look like to rely on the Holy Spirit? Well, that looks like if the word is telling you to do something, if the word is telling you to flee from lust, then you flee from lust, you run from it. Meaning that you set boundaries, meaning that you don't think about it, meaning that you don't scroll on social media too much, that when you are feeling tempted, that you run to God instead of trying to fight it. And essentially, we are not even supposed to be getting too tempted when it comes to lust. We are supposed to run from the temptation. That's what the word says, run from anything that stimulates youthful lust. And youthful lust doesn't just have to be sexual immorality or fornication. It also could be, the lust of the world, the lust of money, loving of money. And so you have to run from all the things that will cause you to stumble. And that's when you will have full self-control over your body. And that's when you'll be able to allow the Holy Spirit to move in your life and give you the strength that you want to be able to overcome certain temptations. So make sure that you're being obedient to Christ first off. Make sure that you're not creating any idols. Make sure that you are listening to the word. And then that's when you'll be able to have more self-control in your body. Number two, the second way to grow in self-control is to practice discipline. Practice doing the things that you don't want to do. So if you don't feel like cleaning your room right away, make sure that you do that right away. Because if you procrastinate on cleaning your room, what else do you think you're going to procrastinate on? You're going to procrastinate on the more important things, maybe like reading your word, maybe not, finishing certain assignments, maybe not doing things for work. Whatever it is, you will procrastinate on it. If you're practicing procrastination, then you're going to procrastinate in the things that are more important. So make sure that you're starting off small. Don't procrastinate on the things that you know that you're supposed to be doing. If you see your room is dirty, clean it right away. If you know you're supposed to be working out, if you're convicted to go work out, don't put that workout off later. Do it today or do it right away. If you know you're convicted to do a certain assignment, do the assignment right away. Just practice discipline, because if you get in the habit of not procrastinating on certain things, then that's when you will be able to push through the procrastination when it comes to the important things. Maybe like God telling you to start a business, or God telling you to, or God telling you to go to school, or whatever it is what that God is putting on your heart. If God can trust you to not procrastinate on the little things, then he's going to start putting things on your heart that lead to bigger things. So you need to be obedient from the start. I already said that in step 1, but this is just the second step to practice discipline. This is how you can start taking action on step 1. This is how you will start becoming more obedient, by doing the small things, and the small things lead to the bigger things. So number 3, the third way to grow in self-control is fasting. It's a way to feed the spirit that is not like any other. So if you are struggling with certain things, if you fast, it will help you grow in self-control. So for example, if you are struggling with gluttony or laziness and slothfulness, well then if you are fasting from, food or social media, then you will force yourself to do the things that are, of the spirit. For example, if you know that you are struggling with, scrolling on social media all day, and you're supposed to be doing something else, well, if you fast from social media, force yourself to stay off of social media, then you will be able, then that time you used to spend on social media, that will end up going to the things that you're supposed to be doing, because you will have nothing else to do. So if you know that you are struggling with something, if you have something that's getting in the way of what you're supposed to do, you need to fast from it. It doesn't have to just be food, but food is a good way to also practice self-control. But fasting is a way that builds self-control, and that's why the word tells us, commands us to fast. That's why God says when you fast and not if you fast, because God commands us to fast because we need to practice self-control. And fasting is the best way to do it. So, and number 4, the fourth way to grow in self-control is actually healing. You need to heal from the things that, traumatize you. You need to heal from the things that, that you're going through. You need to have peace, because if you don't have a peace of mind, it's going to be hard to control yourself. You're going to give in to anger more. You might even give in to lust more because you're feeling stressed out. You may feel distance from God. You may not want to spend time with God more because you aren't healed and you are still thinking about the traumatic things that you went through. And so that's why people are quick to give in to anger sometimes, because they haven't healed from something that they went through. And the way that you heal is giving it on to God, confessing it on to God, realizing that you need to heal in that area, asking someone to comfort you in that area, whether that be a pastor, a loved one, a close friend of yours, whatever you need to do to heal from that moment. You need to heal, and you need to have peace in wherever you're going through. Because if you don't have peace, you're going through your life, you're going through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations, and someone is trying to trigger you, the enemy is using someone close to you to try to get into your head, then you're going to be more likely to give in to that temptation of anger, give in to that temptation, whatever it is, because you haven't healed. And you need to have peace through this walk with Christ, because if you don't, then you're going to be easily triggered. So make sure that you are make sure that you're healing from anything that you are going through, because if you don't, you're going to end up going back into the world, and you're going to end up going back into them temptations. So number 5, the last way to have self-control is by feeding the spirit. You need to feed the spirit. And I know I talk about this a lot, but it's the one thing that we need to make sure that we're doing constantly is feeding the spirit. That means prayer. That means worshiping. That even includes fasting, which I said 2 tips ago. You need to do all of those things constantly, because it's like working out your spirit. And part of the fruits of the spirit is self-control, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, long-suffering, and self-control. And so we need to have self-control in this walk with Christ by feeding the spirit. And the more you feed the spirit, the more you start to grow in every part of the fruit of the spirit. So make sure that you are feeding your spirit constantly and have a scheduled routine of doing those things, because it's not supposed to be just like a chore. We're actually supposed to delight in the Lord. So if you are not delighting in the Lord and you're constantly doing it and it feels like works, it feels like chores, then you're not delighting in the Lord. And God would rather you lower your time and do it out of love rather than just doing it just because you feel like you have to or you're forced to do it. And so God doesn't want it to be forced. He doesn't want you to, have to do something that you don't want to do. He wants it from the heart. He wants you to worship from the heart. He wants you to read the word from the heart. He wants you to pray from the heart. And once you start to do those things, that's when you'll really start to grow in self-control. So make sure that you are doing it with the right intentions. Make sure you are spending time with God with the right intentions, feeding the spirit with the right intentions. And when you do that, that is when you'll see yourself growing in self-discipline and self-control. So yes, these are the 5 ways that you can start growing in self-control and self-discipline. And if you really want to start taking control over your life, really it's God taking control over your life. But if you want to start getting freed from those temptations, getting freed from that sin, and be able to do the things that you know that it takes to be able to accomplish God's will, then you need to apply these 5 steps to your life. So hope this video edifies you. I hope you can apply this to your life. And I appreciate y'all for watching. And if you want to support, the link is down below. But if not, till next time, as usual, y'all stay blessed.